Archer to Guptill. Two needed to win. The throw's gonna come at the keepers, and Guptill has to push for two. He's got him. He's got him. England have won by the barest of margins. By the barest of all margins. Absolute ecstasy for England. Agony. Agony for New Zealand. These were the words that still ring in the ears of every cricket fan from Ian Smith's voice as he kept on shouting at the top of his voice in Lords on that eventful final on the 14th of July 2019. Yes, we are speaking of that eventful day in sporting history, as in some other part of the country, Roger Federer was fighting out with Novak Djokovic, and then this eventful World Cup final. And it's the fifth anniversary of that game. On that occasion, I would like to invite two of my guests today, Supradeep and Abhishek. So now that we are discussing about this game, my first question to Shubhadeep would be, what do you feel was the major turning point of this game? I mean, there were so many turning points, but if you can highlight a few.
Well, first of all, what a fantastic day that was. Now, as a cricketing fan, obviously the Wimbledon, as you mentioned, was going on, and Novak was having a go at Roger, and then there
Yes.
was another guy at Lords, and so half of the people are watching that game, tennis, and then half of the watching are keeping an eye on the cricket game. But you have to remember that was a very fascinating day in Lords. It's a chilly morning, and Lords can be quite lurky. You know, have to remember sometimes Lords is not like the other grounds in England. It's very small, very kind of a smooth possession. There is a kind of a you can hear the noise of the pedestrians walking out in the morning, the members joining there in the hospitality box, and you can also hear the kind of a champagne bottles popping up. So this kind of things happen generally at Lords. But that was a very kind of exciting day. Um, Quite fascinating. I was the New Zealand captain Kane Williamson winning the toss decided to bat first on a chilly morning. Probably he thought that the scoreboard pressure on a finals day is obviously there on the chasing. Is not even if it's 200, 240, what it was at the end for New Zealand. It's always tricky. The final pressure is different thing. And you asked me the moment to remember. I always remember
Yes.
when I look back at this final game. I always remember that Mitchell Santner last ball delivery. I mean, the last ball of an innings. You always expect the batter to just throw his kitchen sink at anyone, whether it's a wide, whether it's a
Yeah.
wide marker over to whatever it was. It's a short ball, and he just ducked. He ducked the last ball of
Yeah.
the
I mean, who knows? A single there could have changed the fate of New Zealand cricketing history.
Well, I was watching the game. I was like, "What is he doing? It's not. It can't surely be the last ball of the innings." And Jofra gave away just 3 runs. That's the best over he has bowled for the whole tournament. We always talk about the game and result being in England's favor. At the end of the day, always say who won it. Did England win it, or did they deserve to win it? Did New Zealand own it? But we always have to remember no one actually deserved there because New Zealand have been critical for the whole course of the game. But what England have been doing for the last 4 years, but Morgan and Trevor Bailey's and their aggressive brand of cricket they have played, they've changed their kind of a way, structure of the game. They also deserve to win. So the moment for me at the first innings, to be honest, was that duck. Why did you duck a ball when you know that this moment can come back to haunt you? And Mitchell Santner, we don't actually point these kind of things at the end of the game. We always talk about the last over, what happened with the bat,
Yes.
what happened with the ball. But these are the small little things. And we also remember New Zealand started quite badly. They lost Guptill.
Nicholls scored
Latham
half
played a
century.
vital knock. Yeah, Latham
I
Yeah,
got
think
some
yeah,
Nicholls
because for the half,
uh, good
Nicholls
runs, I
scored
there
half
was a
guess.
century. There was a
yeah, there was a
partnership between Nicholls
partnership
and
for the second
Williamson.
wicket. And then there was this
Yes, yes,
destruction for the wickets. They kept on losing wickets at regular
exactly.
intervals and they didn't really fire up. And 240 target, you never know. You never know if New Zealand bowl well in the second innings. They are coming off a great game with the ball in Manchester against India in the semi-final. So they are confident they can. Let's see what happens in the second innings.
Yeah, so now that we have got Godo's point of view, I would like to move to Abhishek. And now I would come to that point which has been discussed year after year and will maybe continue to be discussed for some more years to come. Ben Stokes puts in the dive, the ball touches the pad and gets deflected for a four. And then, I mean, later on, Dharmasena admitted that it was in the heat of the moment that he gave 6 runs and it should have been 5 runs. So, your point of view on that moment, which changed the entire context of the game in the last over.
Yes, I believe that was unlucky for New Zealand because if you see that the dive, Ken Williamson is a very cool guy, and I believe the question first comes questions to the mind that has it been Virat Kohli or Ricky Ponting? Have they allowed that? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I
most
think
probably,
maybe there might have been more protests or something, but anyways, I think you
and
can't change the umpire's decision. So in the match, you can
yes,
say that New Zealand were a bit unfortunate with that.
yes,
Also, I think New Zealand faltered with some things on their own also, like Bolt took one catch, but he had trodden on the rope by the time he completed the catch. At that
exactly.
point,
In
England
the
needed
second last
22 of
over,
8. 22 of
yes,
8
yes,
with Stokes and Adil Rashid batting, and Stokes dismissed at that point of time would have meant the game would have been buried for England and New Zealand would have won it by a clear margin. But then again,
yes,
maybe it
yes,
was
because it is
just
because of those
not meant for
fumbles
New
which he
Zealand that
do.
day.
Yes, the
Yeah.
Stokes, the New Zealand catch, that was, according to the New Zealand standards, it was such an easy catch, and he just stepped on the rope. I mean, the final pressure was surely there, and because of that, also you can say
Yes.
that
Also, one knock that always goes under the radar. I mean, Stokes always gets all the accolades and definitely deserves to. But I mean, one man who goes under the radar is Josh Butler. I mean, the way he infused momentum into that chase when England lost 4 wickets, none of them got
exactly.
going. Owen Morgan scored 9 of 22. Joe Root scored 7 of 29, I guess.
Morgan,
And
Butler,
there was absolutely no
Morgan.
life in the chase. And then Butler came. He plays a 60 ball 59. He plays shots all around the park, and all of a sudden the chase comes to life.
Yes, exactly. As you mentioned, that Bairstow, Roy, Root, Morgan all were out, and if Butler would have also been dismissed in the next 5-10 runs, then I think Telenders would have come, or bowling all-rounders would have come. I think so. It
Yes.
would have been more difficult for New England to counter to carry on. I would rate this Butler's knock as 2011 when Tendulkar and Sehwag got out and Virat Kohli, how he carried the innings along
Yes.
with Gambhir. So
Yeah.
in my view, although he was dismissed on 35 with a brilliant catch from Tilakshana Vishan, but somehow I believe that these knocks go underrated and they're not remembered as much as they should be.
Yeah, I mean,
It is.
also the way
Actually,
Butler played a counter-attacking sort of innings. I mean, I think he was having the highest strike rate, having played so many balls in that innings. I mean, Stokes was
Yes,
more steadied
it was
in
I
the
think
initial part of his
59
innings.
around 100 strike rate. I think
Yeah, he
I
scored
believe
59 of
yeah,
60.
yeah.
Stokes was more
And
exactly.
then
steadied in the first part of his innings. It was only in those last few balls that Stokes pressed on the accelerator.
and they were smart enough
Again,
in the
I mean,
partnership. They were smart
yeah,
enough
I
in the
mean,
partnership. It wasn't about only going for the boundaries and over boundaries. It was also about focusing on the singles and doubles to put pressure on the fielder. At the moment you take a single, the moment you take a
yeah,
double,
definitely.
the fielder always comes up. He says, let's save the singles and doubles, and then you can go for the big shots. And rather than one big shot, one boundary, and then you look for a couple of twos, and then three singles. It's already 4 and 8 and 3, so 11 runs coming off that over easily, and that's the way you
Yeah,
just kind of form
And also
partnership
Butler's contribution in the
naturally.
Super Over also. I think he scored the
yeah, I
majority
mean,
of the
Yeah,
runs
Butler
in
and
the
Stokes
Super Overs.
both got some runs. Butler both got a boundary each, I guess, in the super over. Coming to the super over, anyways, we can have discussion on that part where, I mean, the decision which was ultimately taken to decide the winner, boundary count, and also the fact that post this match, ICC decided to change this rule of deciding a winner by boundary count, and now we have seen that in tied games, a super over is played, and if no winner is decided even in that super over, then it will go on to subsequent super overs. It happened in the IPL in Mumbai Indians Punjab Kings match in 2020, I guess, and then it happened recently in an India Afghanistan T20 also at the Chinnaswamy Stadium.
and it should have been in that way. You can't just rely on the boundaries
Exactly.
and the over boundaries just to make someone a winner. I think the problem with the day was that even the fans and most of us wasn't actually aware of the rule. I still remember my father and me watching the game, and suddenly my father just kind of interestingly asked what would happen if the Super Over gets tied, and said, "I don't know. Maybe they will play another Super Over," because I wasn't sure actually what is going to the rule.
Yeah, I think
And
this rule was in play,
suddenly,
but nobody. maybe imagine that this rule will come into play in
Yeah,
such a crucial juncture. I mean,
certainly.
I remember this rule was implicated in one IPL match between KKR and Rajasthan. I guess it was in
Yeah,
2014.
it
It was
was
played in
in
UAE,
Dubai,
and
Abu Dhabi.
Rajasthan needed three to win. Steve Smith knew that Rajasthan, having
And
scored
he
more
pushed for
boundaries,
two.
would win. In case of a tie, he just
Push
hits
for
the
two,
ball
yeah.
nicely and he runs for a double and he wins the match for Rajasthan.
Exactly. So I think that the issue with this kind of rules is you always saying you hit more boundaries, you will win. But that's not how you play cricket. That's not how you play one day. It's also about the importance of singles and doubles. And you have to also remember that, as I said, on the penultimate ball, Ian Smith mentioned that the rule says that the more amount of boundaries will going to be winning the match. And at the end of the day, they have to remember that we also talk about the Butler's innings in the second inning, the chase. Also talk about Butler's contribution with the bat in the super over. One thing have to remember that was an easy throw. That was a very wide throw from Jason Roy. He had to
Yeah, I mean,
collect it
Butler
and he had
just had
to
to
throw it off.
throw it straight to the stumps. He had to flex his body quite a bit and
Flex
then
his body. Yeah,
inflict the throw, and all that in the fraction of a second, deciding the fate of his nation.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
Gatil
Also,
was
and
also
he
a bit
had
slow, I think.
I think he was a bit slow, but you have to remember that
Yes.
Jofra Archer went for that Yorker. So Kapil was on his back foot. So he had to kind of stretch himself for the extra 2 yards. And that was the difference. The one extra year, one couple of years here and there, he had to kind of stretch it. And he wasn't sure, Kapil wasn't sure about which end the throw was coming. He suddenly saw Jason Royce throwing at his end. And then he said, okay, let's just push me fast. And then he fast it up. But Butler was already there. And one thing I just mentioned, the it wasn't towards Butler, it wasn't towards the stumps. He had to collect the ball outside the
Yeah,
stump area and had to throw it. So that was have to remember all those things. That was the last ball. That was a final. You have to kind of get him out. You can't let him go to win. And whatever you
yeah. I
have
mean,
done for the
all that
last
weighing
four
in your
overs,
mind, and in the fraction of a
everything.
second, you know that your throw will decide the fate of your nation.
And it's not only about the day.
Exactly.
Whatever England have done for the last 4 years, whatever kind of a hard work, whatever service that they've given to the
And
format,
also the chance to lift
since
a World Cup title for the first time ever.
and that at home, so much pressure, man, so
Yes.
much pressure, and for the whole team, that was the excellent job. That was a turning point of England cricket. I won't say turning point of England cricket. That was already a turning point for what happened in 2015, and then kind of reinvented their game of way the way they used to play the 50 over game. And now you see the change. Morgan was excellent in this captaincy. I have to say, whatever has happened for England, Morgan was excellent. He was the pillar for the whole team, leading the side, structuring the whole. He wasn't actually a bit scared of being aggressive. He wasn't scared of taking some serious decision. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, he got his fruits, isn't he?
Yeah. So, I mean, and that was one heck of a game. I mean, the best ever World Cup final, I think. And both of my guests will also agree with me. I think no World Cup final, no game in cricket can ever come close to the sort of tension and excitement that this game aroused amongst cricket fans. So, I think it's a good thing to discuss about this game on its fifth anniversary, and even 5 years later, this game still continues to give goosebumps to every cricket fans. So,
And it still comes to haunt Mitchell Santner for that single.
yeah. So I think that's enough for this game. I mean, thanks to both my guests for being with me and also to all my
Thank you.
viewers for enjoying this podcast. Please share your honest feedbacks. Please like, share, and subscribe the channel. Also, press the bell icon for further updates. Please keep loving and supporting so that we can bring more exciting content in the upcoming days. Thanks and goodbye to all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.